Hi everyone, I hope you're doing great today. So there's a very sensitive video that I want to share with us. This video has been trending already out of control. I'm pretty sure most of you must have seen it. But there's a reason why I decided to take some time before responding to that video when it came from President Donald J. Trump. And the reason is because I wanted to take some time out to just do a little background check on why that video happened and why those words came out of President Trump, when they came out and where they came out and why they came out. And I wanted to be able to connect some dots for us to help us make sense of it all. Okay, so let's watch this video right now and then I'll tell you what I think about it.
So I have a lot of enemies out there. This may be the last time you'll see me for a while. A lot of very rich enemies, but they are not happy with what I'm doing. But I figure we have one chance to do it, and no other president's going to do what I do.
Okay, so there you have it. President Donald J. Trump says, so I have a lot of enemies out there. This may be the last time you see me for a while. I was blown away because we've always known President Trump as that man who doesn't care. He has such a thick skin. I mean, this man, from the very first day that he declared he was running for the presidency of the United States of America, he has faced a barrage of attacks from all over. We all are witnesses to what the media has done to this man. We are witnesses to what some elements in the globalist circle have done to this man. Every blessed day, unrelenting, it just back to back attacks. And every time you think he's going to cave, every time you think he's going to just get tired or weak, you see him, growing stronger and stronger by the day. Never shows any sign of caving in, never shows any sign of giving up, never shows any sign of being afraid. But when you hear words like this from the same man, what do you think he is saying? President Trump, like I always say, is a man who is used to dropping quotes. If you are very used to his words, you know that most of what he says most of the time are like quotes. And I wanted to crack this particular code. And from what I have gathered, before I take you to all the dots that I want to connect with us or for us, what I have gathered, I think President Trump is here for the first time outing what we've already known was brewing underneath the surface. We've always known that there was a plan, or that there's a plan, active plan, to not just remove him from office, but to actually kill him. Because this man is a huge, mega stumbling block to the materialization of globalist agenda in our world, which is what we call the one-world government. And I'm going to prove it to you now when we go through all the dots that we have to connect. And so President Trump is telling you, look, I see they are closing in on me. These enemies are powerful. They've got some money. They've got everything they need. They could kill me anytime. They could mess me up anytime. You may never be able to see me again. I might be killed. And maybe the time I see you again, it will be in heaven. This is what he's saying. He said, if you want to fight with me, you better not just hide it. You better come out in the open and fight with me now. If you have to pray for me, you better pray for me. If you know how to fast, you better fast for me. He's asking us to intercede for him. He's asking all and sundry to get involved into this battle. Come fight with me. Come pray with me. Come pray for me. He's asking for our prayer, for our support. The man is a force for good, fighting against the forces of evil, of darkness, of Satan. Every single policy he has put out there proves it. If you are a Christian, I don't think it should take you anything in the world to know that this man has been ushered into the White House by the forces of heaven. I am telling you the gospel truth. And this is why all the forces of darkness from all over the world are fighting against him. And many of us who never thought that it was such a serious threat around this man, he's telling you now. Remember the last time I made a video, I was telling us that, there has been more than 38 attempts on his life to kill him. They don't make it public, but it is true. More than 38. By now, it's probably more than 40. They're trying to kill him every time. And God keeps protecting him. And for the first time, he's now out telling you that these people are around me. And he says, this may be the last time you see me for a while. It will break your heart if you are a believer, a true Christian who has been fighting for and praying for this man. But rather than just stay there and grieve over what you've heard from President Trump, I think it is not for us to grieve or feel pity even. It is for us to rise up. It's a call to action for us to rise up and do what is needed at this time, which is to intercede fervently for this man, to pray fervently. Like many of you know, we declared a prayer from the 20th of July, which is going to, terminate by the 20th of August, and it's still going on till today. And even after that prayer program is terminated, I'm still going to continue to pray in my own capacity for President Trump. And whenever God leads me to come online and share with everybody, I will come and share and we will pray. We have to continue because the last few days, the last few weeks and months we have to the election is going to be very traumatic, not only for Americans, but even for our world as a whole. Now, there's something that happened on the 21st of July, 2020. Something was published, reported on Breitbart News. It says, UN's Guterres, which is of course the UN Secretary General, warns new model for global governance is coming to redistribute power and wealth. Now, what does he mean by that? A new model of global governance. When you hear global governance, what do you think they're talking about? They're talking about one world government, which is going to precipitate one world religion, one world currency, one world economy, one world everything, one. That is the regime of the Antichrist that I have been talking about for months now. So a United Nations Secretary General is telling you that this is coming. Look at what the caption actually says. Underneath the caption, it says, as the world continues to grapple with the deadly consequences of the coronavirus pandemic, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said only one thing is certain in its wake. A new model of global governance is coming, and the globalist body is doing all it can to hurry its arrival. They are doing all they can to hurry its arrival. Now, how are they doing it? Let me read you something here. It says, to close those gaps and to make new social contract possible, we need a new global deal to ensure that power, wealth, and opportunities are shared more broadly and fairly at the international level. A new model for global governance must be based on full, inclusive, and equal participation in global institutions. Now, it goes further to say a new global deal based on a fair globalization on the rights and dignity of every human being, on living in balance with nature, on taking account of the rights of future generations, and on success measured in human rather than economic terms is the best way to change this. The worldwide consultation process around the 75th anniversary of the United Nations has made clear that people want a global governance system that delivers for them. That people want a global governance system that delivers for them. Which people want a global governance system? They are shoving it down your throat. We don't want a global governance system. We want a strengthening of our individual domestic institutions to be able to carry out the job of governance in the way that they should, in a way that it will benefit the indigents and the citizens of all those constitutional entities. That's what we want. We don't want any global governance system, but they are forcing it down your throat because they have already put measures in place to set up the one world government system. On the same day, if I am not mistaken, on the 21st of July, when this was reported, something has happened in the United States of America that is going to shock you, all right?
Whether he knows it yet or not, he will be leaving. Just because he might not want to move out of the White House doesn't mean we won't have an inauguration ceremony to inaugurate a duly elected president of the United States. And I'm second in line to the presidency, and just last week I had my regular continuation of government briefing. This might interest you because I say to them, this is never going to happen. God willing, it never will. But there is a process. It has nothing to do with if the certain occupant of the White House doesn't feel like moving and has to be fumigated out of there, because the presidency is the presidency. It's not geography or location.
Whether he knows it or not, he will be leaving. Just because he might not want to move out of the White House doesn't mean we wouldn't have an inauguration ceremony to inaugurate a duly elected president of the United States. Wait a minute. A duly elected president. How did they know that he is not going to be the duly elected president of the United States? How did they know that he is going to refuse to leave? What is the scenario they are painting that would make Nancy Pelosi to say the kind of things that she has said in this video? And then she made mention of a certain occupant of the White House doesn't feel like moving. He has to be fumigated out of there, because the presidency is the presidency. It's not a geography or location. And then she went further to say that she just had her regular continuation of government briefing. I don't want to speak much on this continuity of government briefing or whatever, but you can look it up on your own. A potential nuclear attack on the US. That's what brought about the whole idea of continuity of government. So that if such a thing happened, government will not shut down completely. There will still be government running, even though the current government may have been messed up or thrown in disarray by the attack, an anticipated attack. And then if it later went beyond just nuclear attack, and now you have the continuity of operations program, coup. So when you are talking about, you just had a briefing on the continuity or continuation of government, and in the same vein, you are talking about he will be fumigated out of there, and in the same vein, you are saying whether he knows it yet or not, he will be leaving. So you are basically telling the whole world that whether President Trump knows it or not, whether he wins election or not, that he will be leaving. So at the end of the day, it's not necessarily about him winning the election this time, because it's very obvious. These people just want him out. I just told you that. They don't care whether he wins election or he loses. Whichever one, they are going to contest it, because they already know deep down in their spirits that President Trump is going to win by a landslide. I don't care what anybody thinks. I've explained to us in the past, and the last time I spoke on this subject, or something close to this subject, I told us what we were faced with. I told us that the plan was to have Hillary Clinton to be the VP pick for Biden. The man is now fit to be the president of the United States of America by virtue of the state of his health. I am not making it up. Look it up in the media. Many Americans believe that he doesn't have the capacity to be the president of the United States of America. The man is old. So they wanted Clinton to come behind. They didn't want to fill her again. So they wanted her to be the VP so that when Biden, God forbid, wins the election, after a short while, Biden will be out of the way and Clinton will now take over. Unfortunately, Clinton has now been dragged by the Judicial Watch to go and testify in court. And I told you that that's going to court to testify on the 33,000 emails and what happened in Benghazi that it's going to happen on September the 9th. And I told you to expect monster riots and serious obstruction and destruction in America in order to distract the rest of the world from what will happen on that day. I told you they were very angry and furious that the Trump-Pence managed to get Hillary to go to court, which meant that she would never, ever get that VP slot again. Didn't I tell you? And I told you they were considering Susan Rice and Kamala Harris. Of all people, it was Kamala Harris they picked. Kamala Harris, and they claim it was for black people. Is she really black? Look at her records. Look at her antecedents. These two people, some of the worst combination you can think of in any presidential race in American history. And yet, they didn't care. They don't have any problem. They could care less because this election season, this election year for the Democrats is not about winning. It's about getting rid of Donald J. Trump. Kick him out. There's a publication that came out on Breitbart News again on August 2, 2020, 2nd of August. Here's the caption. It says, Democrats' war game for election includes West Coast secession, possible civil war. West Coast secession. So West Coast is going to secede from America. This is war games. Remember, they always give you these war games to paint a picture of a possible scenario. But when they make these war games, basically they're telling you that this is going to happen. This is how Agenda 201 happened and prepared us for coronavirus. And eventually when it happened, everybody was caught unawares because we thought it was just a normal war game thing that it doesn't mean anything. Here is another one again. And let me read you what they said in this war game scenario here. Okay, first of all, it says Democrats are contemplating secession and potential civil war as they game out possible scenarios for a closely contested election, according to a report by Ben Smith in a New York Times column Sunday. But conveniently, a group of former top government officials called the Transition Integrity Project actually gamed 4 possible scenarios, including one that doesn't look that different from 2016. A big popular win for Mr. Biden and a narrow electoral defeat, presumably reached after weeks of counting the votes in Pennsylvania. For their war game, they cast John Podesta, who was Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman, in the role of Mr. Biden. They expected him, when the votes came in, to concede, just as Mrs. Clinton had. But Mr. Podesta, playing Mr. Biden, shocked the organizers by saying he felt his party wouldn't let him concede, alleging voter suppression. He persuaded the governors of Wisconsin and Michigan to send pro-Biden electors to the Electoral College. In that scenario, California, Oregon, and Washington then threatened to secede from the United States of America if Mr. Trump took office as planned. The House named Mr. Biden president. The Senate and White House stuck with Mr. Trump. At that point in the scenario, the nation stopped looking to the media for coups and waited to see what the military would do. Do you understand what just happened? In the war game that they played out, they actually made John Podesta. You already know Podesta. I can't say much about him. Just write his name and just Google it. John Podesta, you remember, of the spirit cooking fame? Okay? John Podesta was playing Biden. And from the war games, they have actually envisaged that Donald Trump is going to win through the Electoral College. But Biden is going to win the popular vote, just like what happened in 2016 when Hillary Clinton won the popular vote and Trump won by electoral vote. They have seen the same scenario. They played it out. So now in the scenario, they were expecting John Podesta, who is playing, because it's a drama, it's a game, it's a war game. Okay, these are like an enactment of a real scenario that is basically going to happen. So the guy who's playing Biden in this war game, They were expecting him to concede just like Hillary Clinton conceded in 2016. The guy suddenly refused to concede and said he felt his party wouldn't let him concede, alleging voter suppression. He then persuaded the governors of Wisconsin and Michigan to send pro-Biden electors to the Electoral College to see if they can win it through the back door. Do you see what is about to happen? And then he said, in that scenario, which is now an absurd scenario, now California, Oregon, and Washington, and probably all these West Coast states are now going to threaten to secede. In other words, they want to break away from America. If Trump decides to go further and become the president, these people are practically telling you to your faces that when Donald Trump is eventually elected into office, when the American people overwhelmingly vote for him to come into office, and it becomes clear that Biden has lost, that they are going to refuse to concede just the same way that Hillary Clinton conceded in 2016. That is it. That's what they are telling you here. So, like I said earlier, you just can't win. So this election for the Democrats is not about winning. If you go down to this same report again, it's talking about West Coast states seceding from America. When the West Coast states secede from America and break away from the United States of America, what do you have? Now you suddenly have a situation for civil war in America. Just like when America fought its civil war, exactly the same situation. Now there's going to have to be some fight to reunite them again. So you're going back to the beginning. Can you imagine that something like this happened in a war game by the Democrats? No wonder you have a man like Gavin Newsom who is just acting practically like he's no longer even part of the American Union. They have practically even separated California from the United States of America. Everything that happens there is so bizarrely un-American. And these people are probably, if you look at what happened with the coronavirus, how that all the Democrat states always work together to make sure that whatever they do is against the narrative from the White House. You see, they're telling you that the same set of people are going to try to do what? To secede. In this report, it says, the House headed by Nancy Pelosi will eventually name Mr. Biden president, and the Senate and the White House will stick with Mr. Trump, who is now duly, officially, and legally elected to become president. So they're saying, we will not accept a Trump presidency, even if it came legally and legitimately. We will find a way to delegitimize it. War game conducted by the Democrats themselves. It's not made up. It's there right there in front of you. You see, that's why they can afford to have a Biden-Harris ticket. How do you have a Biden-Harris ticket? In other words, you're saying that practically Kamala Harris is going to be the president of the United States of America? Look, Kamala Harris, because potentially Kamala is going to now run the United States of America. Being a VP pick for Biden, which American is going to support that? It's not about winning this time for the Democrat. It's about removing Donald Trump. If it was about winning, they would never, even in the first place, consider picking Joe Biden. They would never. And now to make matters worse, even Democrats themselves were disillusioned, were so confused when Kamala was announced as the VP pick for Biden. And you still don't understand what is going on. This is what is going on. That's why in the dream that Pastor Dana had about what would happen in September, November, which I interpreted. Go to my YouTube page, probably my Facebook page, you see there, Joseph Okechukwu, you see I interpreted the dream. And I said it very clearly in my interpretation. The fist, the clenched fist he saw that smashed the calendar when he got to the month of November is the fist of socialism, communism. And what I interpreted that to mean was that there's going to be it might be a nuclear attack. I said it in the video, not just saying it here now. I said this could be a nuclear attack on the United States of America. And when this nuclear attack happens, God forbid, you will then see UN boots on ground. Blue helmets will be all over the place in the United States, which he saw in his dream as well. You will then see Russian soldiers. You're going to see Chinese soldiers. I told you that this event will trigger an emergency session of the UN Security Council to go and rescue America. Just a few weeks ago, now look, it's all playing out. It's all beginning to come out. It's like a negative of a picture now coming out into reality. You're about to see the image is becoming clearer and clearer and clearer by the day. Going by nature of the continuity of government, whatever government takes over from the government that they intend to decapitate and destroy, that government will then begin to entrench and install communist ideologies and philosophies all across the United States of America. That's why it was a clenched fist that hit the calendar, meaning that the moment that attack happens, it will mark the birthing of communism in the United States of America. America now suddenly becomes a communist nation. And once that happens, every other nation on earth will now suddenly fall under the heavy weight of communism. You will see China replicated all over the world. May God forbid. This is what is planned for November. The problem is not whether Trump is going to win or not. Even the Democrats now know it. It is known to them. You can see, I didn't make this up. This is their own. They know he's going to win. The point is, what are they going to do when he wins? Will they accept his presidency? Till this very day, the Democrats have never, ever accepted the electoral victory of Donald J. Trump, even though it has been legitimate. He has such bad losers. I call on Christians all over the world. Pray for Donald J. Trump. The Bible says, study to show thyself a workman approved. We need to go back to our study tables. We need to begin to study. We need to open our hearts to receive the word of God. If you watch every Christian who has supported Trump, we don't do it because we want to play politics. Check all across social media. It's not for politics. It's because we've all heard from God. He told us, I sent this man to give you guys a breather. And we've been screaming and shouting to call our fellow brethren to come and hear what we are hearing, to come and see what we're seeing. Many of them have been very obstinate. Many of them have been very hateful towards us. But the window is closing. Even when we declared our prayer, I said it very clearly that it is all up to God to decide whether He gives us the second chance or not. And it's not just up to God, it is up to us. I always make reference to what happened in Sodom when Abraham was negotiating with the angel. If you find 50 people here, would you still destroy the city? No. What if you find 40? Nope. 30? Nope. 20? 10? He said no. Unfortunately, they couldn't find 10 righteous people in Sodom because the people had all gone, sold out to iniquity, to wickedness, to the spirit of deception of that time. Just like Christians today are selling out to the spirit of deception. May God help us. May God help us. Please pray for Donald J. Trump. He needs our prayers now more than ever before. God bless you.